Hello, my loves. Fair warning, this is about to get super woo. So if you're not into that, if you don't believe in the spiritual stuff, then feel free to scroll along because you probably won't like this. I'll give you a moment. Okay, let's get into it. So I've been sitting on this story for 12 years. Sorry, that was Lily saying hello. You want to see her? Hi, Lily. Oh, hi. Okay, anywho. I've been sitting on this story for a good long time because it just felt vulnerable and there she is again. She wants to be up in everything. Okay. It felt vulnerable. It included other people. And the only reason I'm sharing it now is because one of my Reiki students had a very similar story. And I know that before, when I've done past life, soul retrieval, divine feminine, especially magical, metaphysical, mystical, divine feminine work, some of you guys have resonated as well, especially when it was something involving many people. And this was a past life involving many people. So I'll give you the long version. Feel free to skip around if you don't want it. So here's what happened. This is back in 2011 or 2012, and I was doing yard work in my yard, just clearing some things down by a little creek that I wanted to have access to. And I started having this emotional trigger come up out of nowhere for no reason. I have no traumas around gardening or anything like that. But as I was working to clear stuff, I was just feeling all this gunky, horrible energy and emotion of not wanting to do it, just all the yucky avoidance stuff. And I realized, hey, this does not seem like it's coming from me in this time. Let me hop back and do some shamanic journeying and see what happened. And so I sat down and I went through my sequence, which, if you want to know how to do this, the method I use is somewhat based on Sylvia Brown's method, which she talks about in the book Past Lives, Future Healing. It's also somewhat based on what Brian Weiss does and his regressions. And there are places you can find out where to do this, or you can hire someone to do it with you. I do past life regressions and or past life readings, and other similar people do as well. So using it on myself. Okay. So I went back into the past life, and instantly what I saw was so intense that I jumped right back out of it. Because what I saw was looking down at my own stomach, and I was in a different body. I had a different skin color in that lifetime than I do in this one. Much, much paler, like almost inhumanly white, almost not human white. And as I looked down at my stomach in just this flash that I got, which freaked me out so much that I jumped out of it. Also, trigger warning, this is going to get kind of gory. It was a big trauma. So this is going to be not lovely butterflies and rainbows, okay? So I saw my stomach shaking, like hyperventilating from trauma and blood. And that was enough to kick me back out of the vision. And I said, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Okay, wait. Fortify the aura, strengthen the energy field, telling that part of my subconscious that had to relive it, hey, you're safe now. You don't have to go through this again. You don't have to feel all of it again. We just want the information. And this is what I got in this past life, some long, long, long ass time ago, somewhere in Europe. I lived as, and I was not the only one, which is why I'm bringing you guys into this. I lived as a fae, as an elemental being, not really human, although humanish looking body, but various other things very much connected to the land, this specific grove of ancient trees, immortal, and not human, just not human. And somewhere along the line, there was this group of some type of mystical brotherhood who was human and in male bodies and tricky and treacherous. And they came, and slowly over time, they met us, they befriended us, they formed a relationship with us. And we were naive, we didn't have treachery, so we didn't know how to guard against this. And they found out about our power days and our holy days. And on one of our holy days, they came into the grove. And I'll also say that the reason of having these types of beings, as far as I can understand, is that we helped keep the pace of life. We helped nourish the earth. We helped kind of spin the wheel, which a lot of us still do in human bodies. And for those of y'all who are really called to do this type of work, that's probably why. And even as humans did this in the various pagan rituals and stuff over time, I think that it came from that. Okay. Anyway, they came on one of our holy days. And this year, this lifetime rather, my birthday is on Beltane Eve, the day before Beltane. So I wonder about that. Anyway, they came on one of our holy days, chopped down our huge ancient trees, and strapped us over the trees and tortured and killed us and took pieces of our bodies to use in their elixirs and in their magical workings. And you think about the kind of civilizations that came from that same area and how they did do things like that. I mean, the rabbit hole goes deep, and you can see that not everyone from that area is treacherous, but the ones that are, who went all over the world and colonized the world using things like blood rituals, using things like, I don't know if you guys have heard, and I'm not even going to try to remember exactly where this is because I will likely butcher it, but one of the great slave gates coming out of Africa, where the people who had been trapped and enslaved and then were sold, there's this spell written over it that's basically like, I'm leaving and my soul never belongs to me again and my body never belongs to me again, which all these people had to pass under. So if you look right under the surface, there's evidence of all kinds of stuff like this going on all over the world, and not just from people from the European area, but all over. So again, this is before history that I know of. Like, I've never read anything about this. I just remember it happening. So the way that I did the soul retrieval then was to go back to the moment where it was happening and stand next to, in this body, astral projecting, stand next to that version of myself and hold space with her as she was dying. And the big fear that she had, and it was a funny moment too, because the version of me who was dying looked at this version of me and had never seen melanated people before and was like, oh, that's different of this version, which is, again, these trippy little things happen as you do shamanic work that are just fun to talk about. Anywho, she didn't want her energy and her magic to be taken by these people and used for definitely bad purposes. So she gave it to me, and it looked kind of like blue liquidy fire, and it came from her eyes into my eyes, and it emptied out of her body as it filled up my body until the transfer was complete and she died, knowing that. And also, I think I sent some of her energy like down into the land, back into the plants and the animals and the natural kingdom, the nature kingdom. And it gave me some amount of satisfaction to know that whoever those treacherous men were, that they didn't get the magic that they were looking for. And when I think back at that time in my life and what happened after that, because often when you do these epic soul retrievals, especially from past lifetimes or other dimensions or whatever, however you want to look at it, it takes a second to click in. But then if I look at what my life looked like from that moment and give it a few months, anywhere from a few months to a year to kind of gel, oh yeah, my life completely changed, became way more elemental, became way more magical. I unshackled myself from certain chains that were around me and lived a bunch of beautiful years as a free spirit. So fast forward a couple years, and I met someone, a friend of a friend, and we were all in the same group. And he, in this life, did pseudoscience using pieces of animals, minerals, plants to create elixirs and medicines and other such things. And he didn't all, and I don't want to blast anyone here. I'm no longer in contact with this person and haven't been for years. But I don't, I respect people's privacy, so I'm not going to give too many details other than basically what I just said. And when we met, there was a very intense charge, and we discussed it. And I said, oh, yeah, I definitely know you from another time. I don't know when. And usually, when there's an intense charge with someone, it hasn't all been lovely. And that's the thing. It's like, oh, I knew you in another life. Y'all know I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Just because you knew someone in another life does not mean it was lovely, does not mean it was a sweet, wonderful time that you want to pick back up on. It often, not always, but often means that there's unfinished business that you have, that you are getting the opportunity to deal with now. Anyway, I knew that there was a charge with him, and I often am a little bit maybe too positive about this, especially because in this life I'm all about harmony and bringing everything into cohesion and union. But he said to me, and granted, this is a few years later, I had not thought about this life, this past life vision and soul retrieval in a while, in years. And he said to me, I think you and I knew each other, and I think we were enemies. And that shocked me a little bit because I had not thought that we were enemies, but I also don't generally think like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And eventually, over the course of our friendship, and there was highs and lows, there was some huge betrayals, there was, you know, intense stuff. Sooner or later, I made that connection, and I was like, oh, that was you. That was you and your homies who came and did. Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense based on what I then knew of him. And I don't put too much into it, even though I know this stuff goes down. I wasn't going to let that define what was going on in this life. And specifically, I had this desire to give energy to this person in a clean way, in a way that felt loving and nourishing and nurturing, and not like something was being taken from me that I didn't want to give. And I remember specifically one time I had the opportunity to charge up his lab with energy, and I took it and I wanted to do it. And I thought to myself, this is unhinging the dismantling the theft, because I this time I'm giving it willingly. So you can't steal it because I'm giving it to you on purpose. And it feels clean now. And gosh, even when we cleaned all that up, that experience where I gave willingly was maybe in a good minimum 8 years ago. So this is a while back. Yeah. And the reason that I'm sharing it with you is because, like I said, one of my Reiki students had a very similar past life experience come up as she was doing her healing education and learning that. And I told her the story, and it's the first time I told that story in years. And I thought, I bet you were there. It wasn't just me in that clearing. I mean, it hadn't been a clearing. It wasn't just me in that desecrated grove. So I have a feeling that there were others of you there as well. Those of you who resonate with the path that I'm on, and what it is to be a woman in this life who holds knowledge and wisdom of the nature kingdom and of the energetic kingdom and of the unseen things, and specifically who is also free from certain types of shackles that not everybody is free of in this world at this time. So if you do feel like you were there, or if something like this happened to you in another life, and you'll know if you did, you'll feel all kinds of activations right now. This kind of thing happened all over the world. It was not just in that area. It's happened all over the place, because that's part of the story of the humans on this planet. All this breaking, all this betrayal, all this drama, which split us open and is making us grow and become more. And then as we come back together with that knowledge and as we heal it, we have grown and evolved to another level and another version. So if this was you, if you feel activated right now, I highly recommend that you just take a moment to relax and breathe and allow all that energy that was taken from you to flow back into you, to come back into you. because it's looking for you and it's yours. So call it back, receive it back, let it fill you all the way up, let it fill up your energy field, let it strengthen your barriers and your boundaries. And then maybe take a rest, do whatever you need to do to integrate, maybe have a meal, maybe have a bath, maybe go dancing, whatever it is you need to do. And then enjoy what's about to come next, because some cool stuff comes every time we do some soul retrieval and every time we get it back. And sometimes just talking about this stuff does enough. If you are someone who has that strong Fae soul heritage, and it feels like there are pieces of you that don't have access to it, may be because you had some big traumas and they're still floating around. So call your energy home, call it home, receive it again, let it come back into you. Know that there are people assisting who you've never met. There are people who know how to direct energy all over this planet, who are holding things together, who are helping to return things the way that they need to go, who are keeping worse stuff from happening. For all that we know that is bad, you guys, it could be way worse. The horrible things that are happening could be farther distributed, and we're holding it together. And every time we get our power back, every time we get stronger, we get more dialed, we get more focused, we go farther and farther and farther. We're on the right track. If you can feel it, if you can think it, those with eyes to see and ears to hear, know that it's coming back to you. And you're about to step into a much greater level of your own abilities and perceptions and enjoyment and growth. Sending you guys so much love. Have a beautiful day.